Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Daily Crypto Byte. Today is Thursday, September 16th, and we've got lots to talk about today. Maybe not so much in terms of price action, but lots of interesting news that's hit the news cycle over the last 24 hours. Lots to talk about, so we'll dive into that and a whole lot more. Got some interesting doges of the day today as well for you folks, so stay tuned for that. But before we get started, CJ, how are you doing today, my friend?
Not too bad. Doing good. Yeah, not a whole lot of price action, but a lot of interesting news. How you doing, Monty?
Yeah, I'm doing good. These news cycles always get me excited. We've been talking a lot about how one thing that we think is going to be a catalyst to kick off the next leg of this market cycle is more avenues for institutional interest into the crypto space. And I think we're getting a lot of clarity on that. I want to start with this news piece. This is more so still speculative. And that is the news that Coinbase applies to trade crypto futures in a derivatives push. This could be a big catalyst for exactly what I was just talking about, institutional interest in the space. Institutions love to trade futures more so than trading the underlying asset typically. And I think that this Coinbase realizes that, right now they are largely a retail focused company, but I think they recognize that the future of crypto, at least to an extent, is institutionally based. And this will give them a lot of exposure to that space. And I just thought that this was some very exciting news. But CJ, I know you're very, very excited about this next news piece. I want to just quickly dive into that one here. Let me pull up that. And that is this right here. Jump Trading announces their Jump Crypto branch. They historically have been somewhat secretive about their partnerships, what projects they're looking at. But now they've pulled back the curtain and we're getting a glimpse into their partnerships. And here is a list of some of their selected partners. Quite an impressive list, I do have to say here. You got AMP, Bybit, Luna, Serum, Solana, Terra, Voyager. Some major companies that have partnered with Jump Trading. And I think that just because of this, the announcement of these partnerships, all of these businesses right here deserve a second look because, Jump is taking a nice hard look at these assets. CJ, I know you were excited to talk about this, so let me pass it over to you to share your thoughts on this big news.
Yeah, this was originally published from an article in The Block. So I want to bring up that article and just show a little bit more in depth. So Jump has been, generally they are very secretive in the way that they do things, despite being literally one of the largest funds and trading firms in the world. Their founders are, very low in terms of public profile. They typically work from behind the scenes. Nevertheless, they've served as the backbone of Robinhood Crypto, providing liquidity for their cryptocurrency trading. And I think the most important thing, despite all of those partnerships we just looked at, is the fact that, Solana goes to $200 and now Jump is ready to say that they've been active in the Solana ecosystem. So I think that's very significant and bodes extraordinarily well now that you have institutional backing, not only from Jump Trading in the Solana ecosystem, but also FTX. And so, what does this mean for the projects in the Solana ecosystem? I think it bodes extraordinarily well for them to have such powerful influence behind them. Also, I think the one thing that was one of the most surprising when this article came out on September 14th was that they are actually a liquidity provider for Serum, FTX's decentralized exchange. So I think that just adds further credibility to the Serum project and the potential of, how Solana on DeFi can truly grow. So yeah, I think a lot of those projects are all worth a second look. One that was really surprising to see on that list was Chili's, being an NFT play. But Raul Pal has talked about being very favorable on that one. It's gained a lot of traction. So, really just further credibility when you see an institution like this coming out and, partnering with them.
Yeah, absolutely, CJ. And what's also interesting is kind of the basket of partnerships they chose to make here. It is an interesting group. I feel like they're getting pretty wide exposure to, decentralized exchanges, like you pointed out, NFTs as well. But their partnership with Voyager is interesting. Partnership with Luna also very interesting. I mean, the Terra Luna Alliance has now some very legitimate institutional backing as well. Price has responded well today to that news as well. So I think it's very encouraging as well. I actually picked my Doge of the day as kind of a result of some of those partnership announcements as well. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here. Anything you want to talk about in terms of technicals before we dive into some further discussion here?
Yeah, I will bring up the Bitcoin chart right here. So why don't we start from a more shorter term perspective, namely the 4-hour. So we've turned down on the 4-hour here. I also want to add the sequential indicator because we did reach a 9. Yeah, so we are still coming back down to that area, but we are holding some support here from that TD setup sequential support level. If you see these dotted lines that are left over from the TD sell and TD buy nines, they act as very interesting and very accurate support and resistance levels throughout the trend. So it'll be interesting to see whether this one holds right here after that previous doji candle. Also on a more intraday perspective, it looks like if we break that support level, we could retrace to potentially 46.8 or this moving average in the short term. You can see the CCI coming down on both the 4-hour time frames as well as the MACD kind of showing some diminishing returns there. However, I think that the overall structural perspective of the trend, what we've seen on chain and what we're seeing from a daily and weekly perspective, is still very bullish in the essence of buying this dip or buying some of these wicks after supply absorption occurs. So while the intraday price action may turn down just a little bit, I still think it's worth a shot to consider a potential entry if we still are very bullish in terms of the daily and weekly timeframes. If we go out and take another look at the weekly, we can see that we are close to forming a hammer candle in the next couple days. We have 3 days till the weekly candle closes. A little bit of a turn down in the CCI and a little bit of diminishing returns in the MACD. But overall, I still think that this posture is very bullish overall for the trend. So we'll have to watch that intraday price action. In terms of Ethereum, let's take a quick glance at what's going on there. So I think this wick that we saw last week is a really good example of further supply absorption. A little higher up in terms of the MACD, a little stronger bullish momentum in terms of ETH and what we've seen based on previous price action. If we go to the daily chart, we can see that the CCI and MACD are still showing bullish postures as we had a very strong close yesterday. Now, of course, we are running into a little bit of trouble. It's interesting that this Fibonacci level has basically perfectly denied Ethereum's recent price action, and we are coming down a little bit. So I'm willing to bet if we go into this 4-hour time frame, yeah. So having the CCI turn down, having the MACD show a little bit of diminishing returns, as well as have kind of a bearish engulfing candle, it wouldn't surprise me if we get a little neutral to bearish intraday price action. Nonetheless, I think from a swing trading perspective and a longer daily and weekly perspective, I think that these bullish engulfing candles at the bottom of the downtrend are still very bullish in terms of the overall structure of the trend. But any thoughts on technicals or anything you'd like to add to that discussion, Monty?
Yes, just one thing. You hit all the major points there, but one thing I just wanted to point out for Bitcoin was this golden cross that we are getting here. This is the 50-day simple moving average. This is the 200-day simple moving average. We are getting a nice cross above this, referred to as a golden cross, which typically is followed by some very positive price action. So I think one thing to watch out for here, we're getting some bearish price action here, having a hard time getting above the 47.5K level. But I think that now that we have this 50-period moving average turning up above the 200-period simple moving average, this is a new level to watch as a support level here. So I think that, given what we're seeing technically for Bitcoin, we've talked a lot about how the technicals are becoming slightly less relevant given the amount of supply being locked away by long-term holders. But I think that given the very blatant bullish symbol of a golden cross, a lot of technical analysts are looking at this. And in terms of entering a long trade today or yesterday or even, tomorrow, there is nice support to the downside as well with both of these moving averages. And even if those break, we saw that very nice supply absorption below those levels as well. So, I'm encouraged right now. I feel like the risk to the downside for entering a long position in Bitcoin is relatively low, given the fact that we have such strong downside support. And if you wanted to be conservative, you could just set a stop loss below these levels because those could potentially mark levels of a breakdown and a change in the trend. So that's all I wanted to point out for Bitcoin. And for ETH, we're not seeing exactly the same thing in terms of moving average price action. ETH is still, it's getting closer to this previous all-time high. But in the same sense, this 50-period moving average has been a great instance of support. Like CJ pointed out, the supply absorption here was a critical moment for ETH. And what's definitely worth noting is the fact that that wick came right down to this level of the 50-period simple moving average, which coincided at about the 3K level. So I think ETH has kind of proven here that this is acting as support, and a retest of this level, followed by a bullish engulfing candle, may be an ideal time to enter a long trade. So that's pretty much all I had to add, but interesting technical factors we're seeing here today for both Bitcoin and ETH as well.
Before going into the doge of the day, why don't we take a look at the altcoin market cap chart? Because I want to gauge kind of where we view the alts right now, because we were talking about Bitcoin dominance so earlier in the week. But now that that fear or that concern of Bitcoin dominance kind of increasing, I don't know. I think we're starting to see a lot of positive price action in the alts, and that might end up inevitably overriding it.
Yeah, it's definitely possible, CJ, especially, given the news we started off with the show about and Jump Trading making those partnerships. I think that we could start to see a lot more institutional interest in downstream assets, which would result in much higher returns. So, yeah, interesting stuff. What are you seeing in terms of Bitcoin dominance and the crypto total market cap here?
Bitcoin dominance is still pretty neutral. Overall, I do expect us to create some type of like H of death pattern where we eventually break this previous support level and we have a second alt season. That's why I kind of have these massive labels. I think if we go into this territory, it's probably better to be in Bitcoin, at least in the short term. Right now, we still are in kind of neutral territory between Bitcoin dominance and altcoin dominance, in my opinion. But I think it's very clear we will likely go below this 39 level if we are to see a new second altcoin season with the second leg up in the cycle. But more importantly, let's look at the total 2 altcoin market cap because it is seeing a little bit of supply absorption as well. These wicks are very indicative of that, and we actually are close to making a new all-time high. This is a really large cup and handle pattern, and I think it bodes well. So that's definitely something we're going to continue to watch and look for potential bounce from this level to new all-time highs. But that should be pretty good for an altcoin setup. But with that being said, you want to lead that into your doge of the day?
Yeah, sure thing. So yeah, my doge of the day today. Let me just start by going back to that news piece we opened the show with about Jump Trading. The one all the way down here at the bottom, or actually this is 0x's article, so they put themselves at the top. But 0x announced they were part of the partnership with Jump Trading here. And as a result, I want to pull up Trade the Chain to show what that has resulted in terms of relative tweet volume being up 125%, relative trading volume being up 120%. Now let's move over and take a look at the chart here because, well, first, before I do that, let me just say, I think that when you get this sort of news and you see this sort of tweet volume and trading volume increase, definitely look definitely look to see where it's at relative to the moving averages, where it's at relative to similar assets. And 0x is a decentralized exchange. So, take that into consideration here. But I want to just take a look at what we're seeing in terms of the technicals. And as you can see, once again, this 50-period SMA acting as strong support, but this news piece catalyst has acted as a nice piece of rocket fuel here to bring us up to this 200-period simple moving average. And what I'll be looking for today is a close above this level. And I think if we can close above the 200-period simple moving average, that bodes very well for continued positive price action to follow the week. This is an asset that's still significantly off its all-time high at about $2.40. So at about $1.20, I think that, this is a pretty good spot to enter. Also, like I kind of pointed out with Bitcoin, entering a long trade here, you got some nice support to the downside with both this moving average and this one here. Also, that continued price action would eventually lead to the same golden cross we are seeing in Bitcoin. So take into consideration, the fundamentals of this partnership, what we're seeing sentiment-wise from Trade the Chain and the tweet volume and trading volume being way up, but also technically right now, I think 0x looks postured for a very nice move. So I'm going to wait to see how today's candle closes, see if this momentum can continue, because I think if we get above that 200-period simple moving average, it bodes well for continued positive price action. So 0x is going to be my Doge of the day today.
Very nice. Thank you for that, sir. I want to talk about the DeFi perpetual index as well before selecting a specific Doge of the day, because I think it's important to put it more into a broader context. I really like the fact on the DeFi perpetual index that we have 3 macro higher lows here. We have one after our initial selling climax. We have another one at our critical test of support. And then now, just after the recent liquidation phase, we're starting to see another one. And then when you look at the MACD as well, you have a much larger, broader convergence with an increasing price that's also now leading to a bullish cross or potential further bullish cross. But overall, we've talked about cup and handle patterns. This is quite a significantly large one. Of course, it's not perfect because we have the W bottom, but I think now that we've come down and we've formed that kind of handle and we're starting to break up, I think that's it's very promising for the overall DeFi market. And I think the DeFi market has really been suppressed because of Ethereum gas fees. And if we look at the top fee burners, the majority is coming from OpenSea. I mean, there's more ETH burned as a result of OpenSea when compared to just raw ETH transfers. So I think that really shows you. Also, Axie Infinity, another really large NFT play. Same with this one right here. So the NFT market and its popularity and growth really led to an increase in gas fees, which subsequently suppressed activity in terms of retail traders on things like Aave, things like Uniswap, things like Sushi. And now that gas fees are coming down, I expect speculators or retail traders to return to those DeFi marketplaces to participate in things like Curve, MetaMask, 1inch, 0x, all of those kind of decentralized automated market makers in the DeFi space on Ethereum. Because when gas fees are lower, it's more favorable for the retail investor to be able to use them. So for that reason, I'm looking in the DeFi ecosystem. I'm looking at things like Sushi. I'm looking at things like Uni was my pick yesterday. I still like it a lot. We're seeing a lot of volume there. Comp is kind of another one that has been very depressed in terms of price action. But what I would look for now that we're seeing those gas fees come down is the collective DeFi ecosystem on Ethereum, because I don't think it's dead. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think we're going to see a lot of speculation in Uniswap, Sushi, and many other assets like that. So we will see. We'll see what happens. But I think that those are some pretty promising projects right now.
Absolutely, CJ. And to your point about gas fees coming down, I think we can also maybe look to that as an example that perhaps the NFT hype is dying down. Less people are minting NFTs And as a result, the gas fees are coming down. Or perhaps, like Peter points out in chat, perhaps they're just looking to other chains, like Solana or Cardano or Binance Chain. So interesting stuff there. Thank you for sharing that. But that is all we have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, if you want to hang out with CJ and I in the crypto room, you can try it for just $1 for the first month at marketrebellion.com/try crypto. We got 24/7 chat with a community of traders from all around the world who share some really great insights. We publish our own trade insights that have entries, exits, stop losses. We publish news, and we have an extensive education curriculum and a whole lot more. So head over there and check that out. And like I said, you can try it for just $1 for the first month. And if you're looking for a broker to get started trading crypto, we recommend you head over to investvoyager.com, where you can trade 60 plus assets and you can earn up to 10% interest on USDC, which is a stable coin. And you can also earn up to 12% interest on assets like DOT. I just heard an alert that we were tagged in the chat. That means Benjamin Kim is sharing the doges of the day. That's another thing you get if you sign up for just $1. Last thing I'll say, if you do have it over to Voyager, use code REBEL25 when you sign up for $25 free in Bitcoin. That's all we got for today. Should be an exciting close to the week here, given what we're seeing technically and also news-wise. Any closing words for our audience here today, CJ?
Nope, nothing today. Let's go get them. Let's get after it.
You heard it here first, folks. Let's get after it. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you again tomorrow.